Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So we're looking at just a single aspect of one verse. This is a very important idea. This relates to the idea of our children. Everyone is concerned about their child. The very common question now is, how do I ensure my child achieves righteousness? How do I ensure my child is guided? And this is a noble concern. It's only a normal concern. In the story now of Musa and Khidr Al-Salam, we find and as you know, Musa and Khidr, the story is quite interesting. We're not focusing on the entire story, simply an aspect of the story. Within the story, Musa and Khidr arrive at a city. In this city, they request lodging, request food, and the city does not provide. The people of the city do not provide food and lodging. And in ancient times, this is considered something egregious. In ancient times, it's very normal to host travelers. It's standard hospitality to host travelers, as it were. And so despite this fact, Khidr alayhi salam, he finds a wall and he repairs the wall, al-Qama. He repairs the wall. Musa says, you could have requested wealth for this repair. As if to say, why would you repair this wall when they haven't even hosted you for free? And Khidr alayhi salam now explains his reasoning. He explained that beneath this wall is the inheritance for 2 children. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wished that and wanted that their inheritance emerges later, when they're a little bit older. And why, on what basis now is this wall repaired? Khidr alayhi salam says, وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. He says that their father was a righteous man. Their father was a righteous man. So Ibn Abbas says on this ayah, حِفْظًا بِصَلَاحِ أَبِيهِمَا. It was protected, they were safeguarded by the piety of their father. وَلَمْ يُذْكَرْ مِنْهُمَا صَالِحًا. And there's no mention of them being righteous. Solely on the basis of the righteousness of the father, both of them received protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وقال جعفر بن محمد عليه السلام كان بينهما وبين ذلك الأب الصالح 7 آباء. And some of now the Mufassirun mentioned the statement that between these 2 children and the righteous father, it's not just the father, they say it's the great-grandfather, 7 generations between them. And the scholars now, they reflect on this, the idea that every single thing that you and I, we enjoy of the blessings of this religion, all of the blessings that we have, one means of this is the righteousness of our forefathers. You and I do not know because of whose dua, because of whose righteousness, you and I attain blessings. And so naturally, if we want to ensure the piety and the safety of our children, what do? We must necessarily become righteous ourselves. And this is why every time someone comes to me and they ask, can you talk to my child? How do I guide my child? I always want to say, you have to first guide yourself. You have to first attain righteousness yourself. Children are well aware of hypocrisy, as it were. If you and I are not righteous in front of our children, they can see this. Sa'id ibn Musayyib used to say, إِنِّي لَأُصَلِّي, I think this is mentioned under this verse, إِنِّي لَأُصَلِّي فَأَذْكُرُ وَلَدِي فَأَزِيدُ فِي صَلَاتِي. Sa'id ibn Musayyib, leader of the Tabi'in in Medina, he used to say that I would be praying and I remember my child, so I increased in my prayers. I was praying and I remember my child, so I increased in my prayers. Why? Because the barakat have an effect. You should not imagine that if someone now forgoes righteousness, someone forgoes the prayer, someone forgoes halal wealth and therefore halal food, it doesn't affect the child. Of course it affects the children. Of course it affects the family. And likewise, if someone now attains unto piety, someone is remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, someone is praying and fasting, reading the zakat, the sadaqat, and so on and so forth, this has an effect. The barakah is present. This has an effect. And so what do? If you want to save your child, you must save first yourself. قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. Save yourself, then save your family. You cannot save your family if you yourself are not first saved. You know, they say someone is drowning. You know how to swim, you don't save them. Why? Because both of you will drown for sure. You know, in the airplane, when the mask comes down, what do they say? First you take the oxygen, then you give it to your child. Because if you focus on someone else first, you're going to suffer, and they're going to suffer. And we should not imagine that on the day of judgment, if you and I were not concerned about ourselves, this will be okay. There's no such thing as, mashallah, my child made it, but I'm going to go to the nar. This is complete foolishness. وَكُلُّهُمْ آتِيهِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فَرْدًا. Every single one of them will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So you and I have to be concerned about our own deeds. We have to be concerned about our own salah, and our own zakat, and our own fasting. We must first attain piety for ourselves. And thus, along the way, we also take our children on the ride, as it were. And consider now that your child, every single time that they pray, every single time that they fast, every single time they read Quran, every single time they recite Fatiha, whomsoever taught them this reality gets the thawab, as it were, gets the reward. So isn't it ideal that you are the one teaching your child how to pray, how to fast, how to read the Quran accurately? Like, what are the fara'id of fasting? What are the fara'id, rather, of salah, the wajibat, the mustahabat, the sunan, and so on and so forth? And these things are not beyond us, as it were. And this is why we all need to consider now moving forward. You have to consider moving forward. You have to learn the religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. This is the only ask for increase in the Quran. What is it for? And it is for knowledge. Because when you attain unto the knowledge, then you can practice. This is why the ulama, they also mentioned, this is Imam Suyuti, he says, مَنْ رَضِيَ أَنْ يَعْمَلَ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ رَضِيَ أَنْ يَعْصِيَ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى. That whosoever is happy to practice without knowledge, they're happy to sin against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because if someone does not know how to pray, as it were, or how to give the zakat, necessarily they're going to slip. Necessarily they're going to mess up. And this is not something we should take lightly. Just like you and I fulfill our trainings for yearly at our work, as it were, and so on and so forth. Just like this, we should be connected. We should be connected to ulama. Many shuyukh here, alhamdulillah, connect to them. When there is a talk or some explanation, connect to them. Learn the religion. Seek continual improvement. One of the beauties of Ramadan is you can look back and ask yourself, is this Ramadan? Am I a better person? It's very easy to tell. You can look back to the previous Ramadan. Am I significantly better? Have I moved forward? Am I closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If not, this is an indication of what? Deficiency. And so, the reality is, everything is in the ilm. If you attain unto the ilm, if you connect with the religion, if you become scholarly, as it were, everything will be okay. This is why, أُوتُوا عَالِمًا, you should be a scholar. أو متعلما, or a student. أو مستمعا, or someone who listens to the people of knowledge. أو محبا, or be someone who loves the people of knowledge and knowledge itself. ولا تكن الخامس, but don't be anybody else. فتحلم, because you're destroyed. So my friends, save yourself and save your families. قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. Attain unto the religion, and we should connect and learn. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in beneficial knowledge and beneficial action. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all the efforts of the previous days. And we ask Him that He gives us the ability to exceed and to attain unto His rahmah and to excel in our actions in the upcoming days and in the final days of Ramadan. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.